Welcome to Pushing Forward with Alycia, a podcast that gives disability a voice. Each week, we will explore topics like confidence, ambition, resilience, and finding success against all odds. We are creating a collective community that believes that all things are possible for all people. Open hearts, clear paths, let's go. Welcome back to Pushing Forward with Alycia. I'm fangirling today. I am beyond thrilled to introduce a boss babe that is literally redefining what it means to balance motherhood, business, and really authenticity in her platform. She's gifting us daily women empowerment and showing us how to be a boss, entrepreneur, make our way, be a mom. She's got 3 children. She's an adoptive mom, which I love this about your story. She has twins, which I'm a twin too. So we've got that in common. I'm loving the twin thing. I can't wait to jump into that. She has one daughter that primarily uses a wheelchair. We want to talk about momhood with disability. She's trailblazing what is possible, building a multi-million-dollar home-based business. Let's go. She's got a book coming out, podcast launching. There's so much to talk about. We need to jump in. First of all, Christina Smallwood, welcome. I'm so privileged and proud to have you here.
Wow, this is so amazing. When you reached out, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is a big deal. I look to you for so much inspiration as a mom who's raising a very powerful little aspiring entrepreneur daughter that lives in a wheelchair, like to be able to say, like, look at what you can do. Like there's no limits. The way you share and the way you show up, been so drawn to you. So I was an immediate yes, like, oh my gosh, I hope I can deliver. I'm not like your polished business person. I'm very much just the hot mess that I am. But thank you so much for that intro. That was beautiful.
I love everything about you and that authenticity of you showing up the way that you are, leading like a boss, and then also turning it off, being a mom, advocating for all 3 of your children. That has been such a powerful thing to watch as a woman, because I know just one of those things is pretty difficult.
Yes.
So can we talk about this multifaceted career life that you have? I know that you started off in the beauty industry. You have adopted your children. Can we just look back and talk about your journey and how that has brought you to embrace who you are today and all the work that you're doing?
100%. Going back, I'm the quintessential pastor's kid that you have heard the rumors about. I was the rebellious spirit, born into a religious household. I was a very much, I'm going to try everything once type person. I made every single mistake that you can, except I was never in prison and I never got pregnant super young. Later, my infertility came and all that, but I pushed all the boundaries, I'll say. And I remember I was wayward, and my dad pulled me into his office one day. The chair was by the desk that was never there, so I sat down. And I just remember him being like, what are you doing? I had barely graduated high school. I was getting fired from every job. I was crashing their cars, like just a menace, just like a loose cannon. And I was going to junior college to appease them to stay on for the health insurance. And he's like, the school's calling. You're missing a lot of school. What are you doing with your life? You need direction. You need purpose. You can't get paid to party. You can't get paid to be social. And I'm like, but Paris Hilton is doing it. It was 2002, So he's like, the key to life is finding what you're passionate about and then figuring out a way to get paid to do that. He's like, you really love being with people. You love with your hands and hair. You can go back to beauty school. You can make a thing of your life. That conversation was the wind shifting in my sails. And I went back to beauty school. My whole life was different. After that conversation, I felt like he's empowering me to do what I want. He was going to school to get a second PhD. My brother was valedictorian, going to dental school. My mom was a permanent college student, just loved going to school for fun. And then there was me. I was the black sheep in my family. I didn't fit in. And so that empowerment, what do you want? And you can make a thing of it. That conversation pivoted everything. We joke that I went back to beauty school and graduated with honors, which you can't do. You can't graduate beauty school with honors. But just to say like how serious I took it. And I think realizing that you don't need to meet what everybody else wants from you. Like you need to find out what you want and hone into. I've just really utilize that through anything that I think that there's an expectation from society on me. I just always think, but what do I want to say in this? And I think that's really taken a huge toll into all of my careers, my motherhood journey, all the ups and downs of that, and social media.
I love that focus of what do you want to do, because I think it's really easy from a society perspective. We get pulled into, we need to keep up with the Joneses and follow everyone else. I believe that probably came from you not feeling like you fit in. And how do you work through this?
People pleasing 101. You tell me what I should want and then I'll want it. That's not what happens, you know?
Yeah. So where should we start with all of those phases? Adoption, motherhood, business?
What came first was our adoption journey. That's really where I started to have this transformation of next leveling the what do I want, because even though that was still my mindset going into a lot of things, there was still a lot of I's I wanted to dot and T's. I was a daddy's girl. He was very important to me, the wind in my sails. We would talk on a regular basis. I was very close with him. I was not ever really very close with my mom. I actually had a lot of resentment for my mom because my dad had to work 3 jobs and he wanted her to be a stay-at-home mom. He wanted her to be home, but I resented that she would pick me up and have a Nordstrom cup in her car. And I'd be like, my dad's working all these jobs and I never get to see him and you're out at Nordstrom. I think that birthed my desire to work and wish there was something I could do. I got a work permit at 15 and got my first job. I was born to work. But when he was killed in a motorcycle accident, and that really woke me up. Oh my gosh, life is so short. Like, life is what we make of it. And I was grieving so hard because it was the first major trauma in my life, losing my dad. And then I told my husband, I need joy now. We had been trying to get pregnant for a while, and I'm going to get infertility testing. I need to know, we need to have a baby now. I can't live like this with this despair and this sadness. And grief and my positive outlook just had a really hard time mixing. So I went and got infertility testing, and they told me that I have what's called diminished ovarian reserve, very low AMH levels. They wanted to start talking about infertility treatments right away. And I turned to my husband and I was like, do you still want to be married to me? I'm thinking, we got married and boom, then my dad dies and I'm like a mess. And then now I'm infertile and I can't have his baby. This guy probably feels like he got catfished in a sense. And he said, what am I, a medieval king? Have babies for me or banish? And so he said, we'll adopt. So we started the adoption process, and which led to our daughter, Finley, our oldest. And she was born 9 weeks early, suffered a traumatic brain injury, was born with cerebral palsy. And it just sort of was like, that's the theme of your life, Christina. Like, nothing is going to go as you want it to, as you plan it to. And you got to make the most of the cards that you're dealt. And so put that in alignment with, like, what do you want? Now it's like, well, what can I make with what I want out of this? And so it was a lot of in the hard, you know, like there was just ups and downs and unknowns. So it's like, how do you live every day with unknowns? I was never the person that did that until I turned 28 years old. I feel like it's created the best outlook and the best formula for joy in life. I know you know all about that. And I know, having lost your mom and living with a disability, there's so many things that you're like, you have no idea. Like, we have it figured out more than most people that don't have hard things happen to them. You know, it's a gift in a sense.
Hope in the hard. I love that. The word hope specifically for me translates really hard. My mom, when she was going through her cancer journey, all she would say to people is, don't take away my hope. It's so important. And that hard piece is where you become more resilient and you get through something. You go, I did that. Okay, what's next? I love that you're an adoptive mom. That's such a powerful decision. You go through the process. Your daughter has a disability unexpectedly. How does that shape your perspective? How do you navigate that initially? Can you give advice out there to the moms that are listening? We've got a lot of moms with kids with disabilities that are navigating this life and getting into school and advocating.
You got to take it one day at a time, as we know. But I like to say one step at a time. It's the name of my book, Hope in the Hard. It's coming out this year, so stay tuned. It's also the name of my podcast, Hope in the Hard, because I feel like that's just the general theme of my life. But I like to say one step at a time, because a lot of people say one day. Well, that's just time passing. It has to be the step. And I think, or one push, you know? So it's like, basically, it can be Hope is an action step. So hope is something we are doing. We can't just say, oh, I hope this works out, right? It's like, well, what can I do today to ensure that that's going to be more likely to happen tomorrow? So for me, I'd say allowing myself to grieve on the days that I just had to grieve. But number two, I'm the person that I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me. So that actually propelled me to be more vocal about things, because people can just see you from afar and be like, oh, you get the stares, you get the people that feel bad for you, or like those pity, like the pity. And I don't want anyone to pity us. We are the happiest people. Yes, we have hard things, but just because our life looks different doesn't mean it's a sad thing. So that's when I started really advocating, just telling people, if you see someone, smile, say hi. You don't need to feel bad for us. And educating on the other side that different doesn't always mean sad. I think it really leaning on communities and asking for help. That was something I didn't ever realize I had an issue with until I was in the position of like, no, I know what to do. And it's like, it's okay to not know what to do. And it's okay to ask for help and get the help. There was sometimes it was like, your daughter is going to need the surgery. And few moms would tell, and I'm like, no, she's not having that surgery. And it was like I was closed-minded. I'd find these pockets of myself that were so closed-minded to things. And so it really helped me become more open-minded. Like, what if she had that surgery? I think for me, I had a hard time accepting that you have hope that things will get better, but then at the same time, you don't even want to let yourself hope that things might get better or easier, because what if they don't? And that letdown, a lot of people don't want to deal with letdown, so they don't even let them. And that's what I was doing with that closed mind, was like, well, what if we go through all this and we pay for this and then, she doesn't walk after the surgery? And then that ended up being our reality. And so I've realized through overcoming myself in those things, that every single action that you take and piece of advice you take or avenue that you go down in hopes to find an answer or the next term that you're going to get put on you or a diagnosis or whatever, that it's the pursuit of that that's really transforming you. And so just seeing that's not the end. Every single day you have a gift in, okay, what am I going to pursue today? I'm a big believer in Jesus. So for me, it's who's God going to bring to me today that's going to deliver me something. And I try to find the positive in each day. So instead of putting my head on the pillow every night, and I got in the habit of doing this, and this is life-changing, because as moms, we can put our head on the pillow. We go, I should have done this. I should have done that. I shouldn't have snapped at that. I should have done this. We can literally beat ourselves up. I would say, what am I really grateful for today? Because no matter your situation, someone always has it worse. So you can always be grateful for what you have, even if you want to have a pity party that day and be in your feels. And so I would find what I was grateful for. And sometimes it was the person ahead of me in Starbucks paying it forward. And that was an obvious thing, like, oh my gosh, thank you for paying the Starbucks forward. And some days it was like there was nothing except that, we've made it another day. It sounds like hoorah, woolah stuff, but legitimately focusing on what you're grateful for actually does train your brain to find more things to be grateful for. It's wild how like the RAS of your brain actually will find more things to be happy about. So you'll find that you begin having more hopeful, joyful days the more you're really intentionally trying to focus on those things.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I lie in bed, I pray, I try to have as much gratitude as possible. And on the hard days when it's really hard to dive deep and find it, I find that if you are able to do that, more opportunity will open up and you'll see more clear. I really loved what you just said too about leaning in on your community. I think when disability is in your life, whether it's happening to you or more importantly to the people around you, I often think for me, it's been easier to go through the path, right? Than having to have your family have so much fear around surgeries or decisions or all those things. Leaning in on community is extremely important, disability or not. For me, even just starting this podcast, my advocacy voice has become so much stronger because I have this community of people that get it too. And we band together and we're like, okay, we're safe here.
There's so much power in knowing you're not alone. Finley was in a Target advertisement and she had her walker, and the outpouring of emails, messages was insane from just that one simple thing. Their daughter, a walker walking by, and there's so much power in knowing we are not designed to be alone. We're all human, but we all are different. I think just realizing that and allowing yourself to go there. I never feel more at home than when I'm with warrior moms. That's what I call us. Warrior moms. We know we get the same things and we can relate. They say misery loves company. I don't love to use that when I'm talking about our warrior moms because we're not in misery, but we have similar hardships we go through as a disability community. That's where you really connect with people and you find your people and you realize together we can really overcome hard things, truly.
Yeah, it's beautiful to watch your journey with your daughter. Honestly, it really is. It's been beautiful to watch her grow and become stronger in her disability and her body and like her walking and all the things that she's accomplished. Like, that's because her mom and her dad are leading her into the decisions to help her really master this beautiful life path and body that she has.
She's been so amazing that she's motivated. I mean, every therapist she has, every teacher, everybody's like, if they all were like Finley, if everyone was like Finley, we'd have the best patients. She is so motivated and she doesn't really ever complain. And I actually think that I've almost done her a disservice by us being so positive and like I'm just being transparent because we just kind of turned this corner recently and like with all respect to her privacy, this is where it gets really complicated for me because I'm like, well, what's her personal business? But I think that there's a normalcy in everybody that lives with disability at one point hates their disability.
Mm-hmm.
And she just recently vocalized this. I mean, and there were tears and it was like really the most gut-wrenching thing that I've experienced so far on my journey with her. And that's what I was telling you before. I'm just like, thank you so much for showing up and sharing because when I can say to her, like, look, it's just like my dad sat me down. Like I was at a loss for who I was and my dad sat me down and was like, the key to life is finding what you love to do. And then they're going to make that. And so being able to show her, like, look at this woman that's speaking. She wants to do everything I do, so she wants to be a public speaker. She wants to be a boss. She wants to do all these things. And just so to have people like you, Alycia, that are like leading by example in that way and just such a powerful, authentic way. It's like so beautiful. So thank you so much.
Oh, you have no idea how much that means to me. And the reality is I hated it too for a really long time. Like it took me into my 40s to be like,
wow,
this is me. I'm disabled. This is a powerful part of my identity. And I'm owning it because my life path deserves it at some point to just own who I am. But that does not come overnight. And I know for many other like youth with disabilities that have the entire life, school is hard. It gets harder when you go through adolescence. She's knocking on that door in the next few years. And that for me was the hardest time of my life. And I think that being the support system that you are and encouraging her the way that you are now is going to help her. I had to navigate that stuff without a mom and it was hard. And there's just no sugarcoating it. But allowing her to have a community around her. My parents put me in wheelchair tennis and there was other kids with disabilities that I could band with. But then there was also integrated opportunities with able-bodied experiences too. And all putting those puzzle pieces together takes time.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's not an easy fix. Like it's really hard being disabled when you're young sometimes. But we're in such a beautiful place in our society. There's never been this much opportunity. I got my first wheelchair Barbie at 40. I never used to see people that look like me anywhere other than in segregated classrooms. And so she's got so much opportunity and representation around her that hopefully it empowers her. I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful time to be disabled.
Yeah. And I think too, it's just realizing the journey that you're on molds and shapes you authentically, right? So just realizing there's nothing I can do. This is the journey she has to be on and allow a space for her to grieve openly. Because I think everybody's sick of the toxic positivity, right? And I don't want to be that. And I think that I have a really good perspective of when to deliver positivity and when to just listen and rub her back. And that's the hard part about parenting, though. It's like with my team and with my business, I feel like deliver tough love in such a way that it's motivating to women, and this is what you do, and we pick ourselves up and we toughen up. But when it's your daughter, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm the one who's going to remember in these moments of, like you said, your mom was such a pillar of everything that molded and shaped you to be who you are. And it's a big responsibility.
I think she's got a great guidepost to follow. And
Well, thank
from an
you.
outsider looking in, it reminds me of my mom. And it's quite amazing how beautiful you can tell how beautiful your relationship is together. So I can't wait to see what happens. I mean, she's going to be on stages bigger than mine and bigger than yours, probably,
I think so.
Let's talk about your business, your entrepreneurship, you being a business mogul, frankly. Like, you have built a business that many of the women and men that follow this podcast and beyond, I'm shooting for too. How you become widely successful.
Okay.
Talk about that path for a minute.
Everything rises and falls on leadership. I have had mentoring by John Maxwell, and I'm a living proof of this theme in your life. And growing a team and nurturing a team and building relationships, which turns into influence, which turns into success. I think it really boils down to, and so many people will separate what they do behind the scenes and what they do for their business. And when you realize it is one cohesive unit, that when you are the same person behind the scenes that you are and you want to be seen as, like when those two things collide, that is where the success happens. There's no like turning off my leadership hat. It is who I am now because I've been practicing it and working towards it and really taking it serious, which means I would say it's easier to aspire and say you want these things and implement, but it's harder to get rid of habits that are holding you back from where you want to be. And so for me, that was getting rid of gossip. Anyone that knows me now knows I'm not going to sit and gossip. Before, what was keeping me from being the successful person I am today was I was that total misery loves company person. I would sit and gossip. I would sit and watch crap TV shows. Like I wasn't really stepping into true leadership, which I feel like that's what's holding most people back, is that they are separating who they want to be and who they currently are, and allowing bad habits to creep in and take over. I mean, I had to have harsh truths delivered to me from two of my closest business partners. One was my mentor. One was a woman on my team who was like my rock star on my team. So someone I had a lot of great admiration and respect for. And that people pleaser in me had a really hard time dealing with conflict. And I mean, any good leadership book is going to talk to you. Like the moment something happens, you need to tackle it head on. The longer you let people go assuming, the more room you have for drama and things like that. I work with predominantly women. I'd say it's 99% women on our team that's near 40,000 people. So it's huge. And they called me out on a Zoom. Literally, Christina said this, and this about you. And it was all coming from a place of, I don't want anyone mad at me. It was like, I'm a people pleaser. I don't want anyone mad at me. But I wasn't being a leader. I wasn't making this situation better. And I was in a position where this was my job, to be a leader and make it better. But I thought I could kind of skate by and grow success without becoming the person that's gonna step into leadership. I think a lot of people don't look at themselves like they're gonna be a leader, and I certainly didn't. I got in trouble in school. Like I said, I was rebellious, and they'd say, well, you're a natural leader, and if you're gonna be talking and disrupting the class, other people are gonna talk and disrupt the class. There was that element of, I had been told this, but I never believed it about myself. That call actually got me very angry with these two parties. They both know about the whole thing, but it sent me to therapy. And up until then, I was very against therapy. This was 2019, right before COVID and everything. I went to therapy and I sat down and I told my therapist, I'm here to learn discernment because I let people walk all over me. And turns out, because I went to fix everybody else, like, how can I make it so that I don't care about everybody else being a mess? And she really in terms healed all the trauma in me and my need to please people and my need to be accepted. And it turns out like that's probably why I was like the best advocate for Finley, was because I was fighting for acceptance for myself. And it took a while for me to connect those two dots. I was 35 when I connected those dots. So why I speak so openly about this, because a lot of people are like, I would only talk to my therapist about this, is because I hope to help other people connect those dots between their childhood traumas and their childhood-ish and what they're experiencing now. Those patterns do not change. They just look different. And so if you find yourself constantly experiencing the same anxiety or it's because you're continuing to make the same decisions just in a different capacity. So that awareness is huge. I mean, it's when you have that light bulb moment, I feel like life was always very chaotic and very just like all the colors, and now it's like black and white to me. And it allows me to help other women get over those hurdles, which in business, truly, we are really the only things holding ourselves back, like our limiting beliefs of where we want to be. And so I'm a big advocate for therapy. If you're a businesswoman, you want to make it far, it's like you would go attend business courses to get better in your business. You would go to a physical gym to strengthen your muscles, right? It's like you need a mental gym to be the best mental health that you can be.
And I love what you just said about needing to own that you are a leader, and the owning it internal battle of owning that I am a leader, I am a boss, I know what I'm doing, and I want to help other people in this grow their careers, whatever your position is in leadership. And I think a lot of us, as I'm going to just say, probably as women, struggle with that internally.
Yeah.
Am I a leader yet? I know that blocked me for a really long time. I stayed in a job too long. I didn't ask for a promotion. I didn't move up fast enough. Started using my words, leveraging my power, saying it out loud. Things really started to grow and build.
Yep.
But we hold ourselves back with this fear of that's not me yet.
Yeah.
Like, what's the advice there? We do such a terrible job at not believing.
Well, I think it boils down to us trusting ourselves. So when you say you don't trust yourself yet. So I think like there's two issues with that, right? Then there's like, okay, I don't really necessarily believe it, which is one thing. But then when you aren't building a trust with yourself or the people around you. So I say I'm going to do XYZ 5 days a week and then I don't. Well, I can't even lead myself. So how am I going to lead other people? So there's already that doubt because I'm making promises to myself and not keeping them, right? Then the other end of that is I get online and I preach all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. And then behind closed doors with those that are closest to me, I'm a completely different person. I'm a different version of myself. So there's a huge disconnect already, and that's going to limit your beliefs as well. So if I'm online and I'm saying, don't gossip with your team, don't do this with them, like don't, and then behind closed doors I'm doing it, I really am not giving myself permission to grow in that way. There's so many memes out there and quotes that are, you have to hang out in new circles if you want to grow into new versions of yourself. And change means that you have to let go. I mean, I've lived all of those memes and those quotes and all those things. And so being able to put actual moments to them, I think if you've already lived some of those, like, okay, I knew what I had to let go of and what lie I had to stop telling myself or what thing I needed to start doing every day that allowed me to go, you know what? No, I am going to use my voice more today. It has nothing to do with anybody else viewing you any differently,
And you just translated the dots that you talked about, which was entrepreneurship and being in your space and being successful the way that you are. It's a lived experience and you don't compartmentalize it. Like it's kind of like show up the way you are and then show up the way that you are is what I'm hearing. Is that true?
Yes. And own your ish. Okay. I think this stems from me going through the program. I've been sober 5 years now. Well, almost 5 years. In February, it'll be 5. But there's a reason in the program for you to let go of who you were to grow into who you need to be. You need to go make amends. You need to go apologize and you need to go forgive. Okay? Forgiveness is the hardest thing for anybody to do. And I guarantee you, you show me someone stuck in their business or stuck in their growth pattern or stuck on their, they've capped themselves with their income. Like you show me they are struggling to forgive someone in their life, period, the end. This is why my book's also going to come with a forgiveness kit because I believe that like they say, it will set you free, it really will. And so it can be someone from your past. It could be you. It could be, you have resentment somewhere that's holding you back. It's changing the way you make decisions moving forward. So those dots cannot connect if you are holding on to any kind of bitterness, resentment, lack of forgiveness. So for me in the program, when I went through and I called all the people that I had done God knows what to in our past and apologized and got their forgiveness, I know confidently, wholeheartedly, my mom and I shared that we weren't very close, and we went through, almost 2 years without speaking or seeing each other. And that was my decision post therapy. Was I'm like, I can't with this, and how am I a powerful woman that literally deals with women and I can't even get along with my own mom, like how is that my reality? And so I was determined that one day I would be able to get along with her. And she was the same. So now we have a beautiful relationship. We actually do public speaking together, sort of about this, because there's so many mom-daughter issues. I told you I started resenting her at a very young age at elementary school when I would see the Nordstrom cups in the car. So I had to let go of a lot of layers of things that no amount of work was ever going to work out of me, And so that's what I mean by who you are is going to be what holds you back for success. That girl that was holding on to all that drama and like strumming it up, and even if from the outside I looked very successful, but my business was capped. Like I wasn't growing past a certain point. And so to get there, I had to really let go of all of those things. And I learned that through the program. But I mean, just knowing every single day that I'm going about life, like completely forgiving everybody. I don't hold grudges. Like it's so freeing. And I think that leaves room for abundance in your life.
Fly free to abundance.
Fly, little birdie, fly. Life's too short to not forgive somebody.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's beautiful. I think that's all really good advice. You mentioned the book. So like I want to give the book some space in your podcast. Like talk about the book a little bit, and you're speaking. Like speak to the clients out there that are listening to this right now. Like what do you do? Tell us about your platform a little bit and all of that.
For a while, I was like a bit of a PR hot mess because I just knew, like, put me in front of women. I want them to know they can shatter any glass ceiling that they've set for themselves. Like, my background is not in psychology. My background is in like lived experience. I've gone from 0 to 100, and I love watching that light bulb moment in women's eyes. I don't know if you ever saw that episode of Friends, like, you're your own thunderstorm, Rachel. Like that's what I feel. So I wrote a book basically so that I could get hired to publicly speak, because my publicist was like, Christina, no one's going to hire you to put you on stage if you don't have a book. So I was like, all right, I'll write a book. So started writing the book, and that was like my total motive. Well, the Holy Spirit really kicked in, and this book is like my heart and soul and everything that I preach on every single day. Like I'm so excited for it. I'm so proud of it. It's literally like just in the tail end. We just finalized the cover. Like it's coming out. Like cannot wait. I don't have a date yet, but it's called Hope in the Hard. It is action steps for overcoming hardships. Each chapter is titled with an emotion that holds us back. So one chapter is grief. One is people pleasing. One is numbing. One is avoiding. So there's so many different chapters that you could do. It's a standalone. So you could just say, oh, I know someone grieving right now. Just here's the book. Just read the chapter on grief. They're all standalone. They all have a call to action because I'm big on actions are going to be what get us to the next step. I share on stages just my journey, my story. I can go on any tangible a business wants me to. I can train on social media, which that's what I did for the World Class Closer event in Miami. I speak to salespeople how to present themselves on social media. I can speak to just overcoming yourself and building a personal brand with authenticity, which we're seeing authenticity have a huge moment right now. So there's been a lot of people asking me to speak for that. I honestly, you give me what you need your people to hear, and I guarantee you I have a good 15-minute shtick on exactly how to deliver that. And I know that I've gone through all this pain for a purpose. And truly my main thing is just helping people realize their own superpowers, like, and their God-given talents, and that's my favorite thing. So you will be able to get the book soon, but I am completely for hire to speak. I love getting in front of any size audience. I won my first speech meet when I was 6 years old. Okay. Like I love it so much. And so I feel like I finally, I went through the hairstylist life for a while. I gained a lot of experience with my little mini stage, and now the fact that I get to speak to sold out crowds is so awesome. And I love it. I live for the people, shaking hands, hugging, the stories, and I just think it's so amazing. So you can also find me on Instagram. I pretty much live there and share my whole life, the whole enchilada, the ups, the downs, the parasite cleanses, the the everyday things. And I love living life and showing people you can be you. Like, you can be you, and whatever that looks like, the world needs one of you.
Your platform's beautiful, and you're doing a lot for a lot of women. It's very, very apparent. And I know you've motivated me over and over as an entrepreneur. So I appreciate you doing the work for us, honestly, and putting it out there. And I have no doubt that the speaking is going to be successful and is successful. The stages you've already been on are massive.
Thank you.
To the stars, sister, to the stars.
Let's go.
Let's go. Is there anything else? Because I'm going to wrap up soon. Did we miss anything? This was a beautiful conversation.
I loved this conversation so much. Like, I want to have you on my little tiny podcast.
Please.
Okay. But no, I mean, nothing else. Just, I mean, that's my message. And, you know, I could talk for 2 hours about all of this, like, and all the stories and all the things. And that is why I wrote a book. Now I'm obsessed. But no, thank you so much, Alycia. I seriously enjoyed talking to you. Again, I have the greatest, utmost respect and honor. This was an honor. Thank you.
It's my honor too. Wrap this podcast up with a pushing forward moment, a mantra, a little piece of hope that you can give away to our community. Is there something that you are willing to gift away as we wrap this up for our community to take away and feel really great today?
Like closing words, or like
okay. Anything that comes to your mind. I do this on purpose to put our guests on the spot. So like whatever comes to you in this moment it could be a mantra, it could be a thing you live by, it could be
I'm actually
the title of your book.
As you just shared, like probably majority of your audience is, you know, in business, right? Like, I would say, I'm going to speak to you right now if you're in business. You need to go on your social media and you need to share your story. Like, you have to share your story. I think that we're seeing such a moment right now with like different businesses and organizations and brands, especially, that are saying, you know, they're sharing their origin story. Like, so if it's been a while, even if you have it beautifully curated on a website, even if you have it somewhere, you know, on your profile already, legitimately go live, be raw, and just share your story in your heart. Like, and someone is going to see it. Like, something's going to help you connect the dots with your social media. And I just think we all need reminders and that freedom to go do that. Like, when was the last time you did that, you know? And so that's what's coming to my head right now. I don't know if that...
I feel like you're speaking directly to me and I need it. So thank you.
There you go. I love it.
Christina, thank you so much. We're going to leave all your information in the show notes. When your book comes out, we'll be blasting it again, all of that. And just thank you for sharing your hope and your power and you just being a total boss. It's a real inspiration for all of us women and beyond out there. So thank you for putting yourself out there the way that you do. Very important. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you to our community for showing up again. This has been Pushing Forward with Alycia, and that is literally how we roll on this podcast. We will see you next time.